Main character Louis Bloom is shown in first scene breaking a fence. His car is at a side. Within a few moments, a security guard arrives to inquire as to the reason for his presence. He also asks him to show his ID card. Showing ID card, Louis attacks on security guard, stealing his wristwatch, and goes in car. It has appeared in first scene, Louise is a thief. Louis then goes to scrapyard, selling the stolen chain cover and link. He meets a man there. There is a discussion on these things between these two persons. Louis tells this man, "I need a job for my career so that I may grow up. I am hardworking with great goals." He also tells that I had been famous in my school's self-esteem movement. I assert, "You must have earned enough money to purchase a lottery ticket if you want to win it." He requests for a job to that person, but is rejected. Then Louis asks reason. That person says, "I cannot hire a thief." Hearing it, he moves to his car. On the way, he observes police cars and hears words, "Help! Help!" stopping his car aside. He notices a burnt car and shouting lady who has been calling for help. Meantime, two freelance journalists reach there. One of them has camera, while other is his helper. They begin to make video. Police officers bring that lady out of the burnt car. Seeing it, Louis smiles and he gets an idea. He goes to cameraman and asks the broadcasting of this news on TV in morning time. He also gets more information. Meanwhile, cameraman receives a message through the kept radio scanner in his car. Location name Crest Rose is told. Hearing it, cameraman leaves. But before leaving, he informs to Louis, this footage will be sold to the local station news. In next scene, sitting in his room, Louis watches the news channel. He hears a news that bank robber could not run for a long time. He continues to change news channels. A news channel broadcasts the same news, which he had noticed live. After it, newscasters gratify the CHB officers who saved the life of lady. It is also told that crashed car caused a fire, but lady is in stable condition now. Then Louis is shown, sitting in a public area, and steals a parked bicycle. He goes to shop, so he may sell it. He tells many attributes of bicycle to shopkeeper and discusses the price as always. He says, "I need a camcorder, which is video camera, and radio scanner at its place." At last gets them. Afterward, he keeps that camcorder and radio scanner in his car. After 2 unsuccessful attempts, one day he reaches a place, receiving information through radio scanner, where police cars can be seen. Going there, he begins camera recording, but police officer strictly forbids him and threatens, "As you will be arrested if you don't stop." A girl's health is being restored there. Louis assures that he has license of recording, but is pushed away like the other cameraman. It is a carjacking accident, which is recorded by Louis. Taking this recording, he goes to KWLA Center, relevant to news channel, in Los Angeles. Going there, he meets its director. Louis talks about the sale of carjacking footage. Then it is asked, "For whom do you work?" Louis tells, he works only for himself. Louis tells that a fallen person was shot for many times and bleeding. Director watches this footage and also tells about assignment editor. Louis is asked about the footage price. He demands $10,000, but director hands over him $250. Then director suggests to purchase the better equipments as directional mic so that he may interview where he visits. Louis talks to director. She asks him to contact Having Such News and also tells their interest in crime videos, but not all. Because their viewers are interested in urban crimes, which are residential. Interest is also seen in other accidents as car, buses, train and burnt plans. She more tells, these footage should be graphic best and clear. Louis gets understanding. Next morning, sitting in his room, Louis watches the KWLA channel that plays the same carjacking news. Then he works on his computer, trying to search for Los Angeles police codes that are of the police department. He writes these codes and some incidents in his notebook. In next scene, Louis waits for a man named Rick in a hotel. He calls to hire him as an employee and interview. Louis asks, "Why should I hire you?" On it, Rick replied, "My education has completed now, and I need a job." He also says, "It is me. I can do everything. So that you must hire me." Lewis then tells, "I run a successful TV business, making footage of breaking film stories." Hiring Rick, Lewis agrees to give $30 on the daily basis for a night duty recording. After it, he says him thank you, and then they go to their work. Lewis assures his concerned person in the car that he will operate the information through the radio scanner and wait for an emergency call. Both go around their company within a week of receiving a message. Rick is unable to have a clear view of screen because of fast driving. Ambulance had gone when they reach there and video recordings are over. Lewis has got angry, but Rick clears himself, saying it was due to your fast driving. Lewis says, "I had already problems, do not tell me more. Only mention the solution so that we may decide something collaboratively. First thing, the key of success is identified communication. It is clear, they cannot record anything here but reaches at another place taking information through radio scanner. Reaching there, they talk with a lady who says, I told the police about gunned people but no one took action. Afterward, Lewis records the standing people in front of house who talk with one another. As they say, we were running as fast as we can through this window. Lewis enters into the house stealthily because everything is over outside. Going there, he begins to record the stock pictures on refrigerator and kept envelopes on a table. Taking this recording, he goes to KWLA Center and meets with its director. Watching it, director says it fantastic favoring while editor dislikes this footage. Director asks Lewis, have you any experience in office? Lewis replies, no. And tells about his online study of everything, I use computer all day. Then he tells that I have also done an online business course last year. I knew there should be a business plan before starting any business. He also shares a website question through which anyone can focus on his abilities, as the question is, what do you like to do? He tells, through this site, he has enhanced his abilities. Because through these questions, a list of your weaknesses and strengths is required. He tells, I have made a list again and have known my interests in TV news. I can do it perfectly. Director smiles, calling his work outstanding. After it, Lewis names his first recording carjacking crime working on computer, while second recording name is given horror in Echo Park. Gradually, great recordings are attained, making such footages, he becomes expert. After it, Rick and Lewis go again on work and receives a message through radio scanner as car has overturned. They reach there immediately. Lewis tries to ask something from a worried person who is there. But that person shouts saying go away, I am calling 911. It is night time. Lewis drags a wounded man laying before a car and makes his video. He gets footage gladly. A few moments later, police arrives there with klaxoning sirens. As a result, Lewis and Rick leave. Lewis gives that footage to Nina director, who hands over him check appreciating his work. Next morning, a man meets Lewis and suggests him to import his video on your laptop and editing, upload it on site FG notifying that you have something for sale. He also tells, I have also been working as a night crawler for the last 14 years. He offers him double income, asking to drive his another van for it. But Lewis rejects his offer, saying him thanks. Then Lewis with KWLA director goes to a restaurant for dinner. They talk with each other. Director is pleased with his work, appreciating him completely. Next time, when Lewis visits KWLA Center, director talks about crash. Lewis says I apologize, but I only bring stories which are on ground, while planned crash recording was not my work. But director shouts, you knew. It was most important week. And I needed such work to take the attention of people towards it. You promised me, saying it. Director goes away. In next scene, Lewis is in his house. News channel shows the news of last night plane crash. Looking into the mirror, he screams like a madman, breaking the mirror. Then goes outside the house and drives car fastly. In nighttime, Lewis and Rich go on their work. Lewis drives the car as always. And they move to next location. Reaching there, Lewis runs holding camera coming out the car. He goes to a place stealthily and hears the gunfire sounds from the house. Lewis hides himself in bushes. Two men coming from house sit in car and leave. Actually, both persons are criminal. Lewis moves into the house. There is a complete silence. Going inside, he finds the laying dead bodies with blood spots on the floor. He continues recording and reaches there before the police. A murder is also inside a room. He records the scenes in camera and runs outside feeling fear. Within a moment, police car sirens make a sound. Sitting in a car with Rick, Lewis leaves the place. He is afraid because it is a serious case. Lewis goes to KWLA director, but director angers, asking why were you not picking up my call? On it, Lewis says, I have something. Granada House has been attacked and triple homicides occurred there. I went there before the police. All members of office start to watch his brought footage. Center lady says, we cannot broadcast it until we tell their identities to their relatives. But director suggests to pixelate the faces. I'll think about the broadcasting of news on channel or not. There is a discussion on it. Director then asks the footage price. Lewis' demand is high as he says $15,000. But director disagrees. Lewis says, it is attractive footage, I can sell it to anyone. He also demands the public credit. Lewis says my demanded amount is not much. He more tells, having my own company, its name will be Video Production News. After a great discussion, director agrees, giving him public credit. In next scene, he hears news sitting in a room. Someone comes at the doorstep. When he checks, finds male and female detectives who ask his identity as enter into house. On it, he tells, I am Lewis Bloom. Then it is asked, where were you last night? And he informs everything. Actually, it is a crime scene. Then he says, I went there to collect the information and was present before the police. Detectives interrogate and Lewis says, I had seen two men leaving that house and sat in SUV. Detectives ask about video film. He gives video to detectives, but he had already edited the criminal scene in which the two criminals were visible. Afterward, detectives leave. Lewis shares everything to Rick, telling he has the names and address of criminals. We are going there now. I know one of the killers, we will search who drove car. And I will also call police as time comes. Then Rick tells, I devote my work on it. Lewis says to Rick, I did not want to share my business plan with you, but time has come permitting me. How will I expand my company at next level? He appreciates Rick's work and devotion and promotes him to executive vice president. The daily income of Rich reaches $75 per night work. Rick and Lewis reach at a place where a criminal's car is parked. Lewis reveals, reward of catching criminals is $50,000. Hearing it, Rick is astonished. Lewis says, I will call police finding chance, because these criminals are very violent. Rich demands more money, but Lewis diverts him, saying that your reward is to set your career, you are getting a great opportunity. If you still want to do this work, just think. Rich demands the half payment of reward. Surprised, Lewis thinks, how can Rick come on this amount, but agrees to an extent. After a while, a criminal comes outside and moves to his car. In their car, Rick and Lewis go after him. Afterward, Lewis calls police and tells, I want to tell the location of these killers, who have murdered of 3 persons in Granada Hills. Both killers are in Chinatown Express restaurant. He also tells both are Hispanic and have gun. All information is delivered through radio scanner. There are almost 6 persons in restaurant. Rich is afraid, thinking sudden firing can be started. Lewis orders Rick for film shooting going outside. And says, I will make video sitting in car using zoom button. Rick is scared and forbids to go outside the car, saying I don't care of this job, but unwillingly, Rick goes holding a camera. It is a risky task. While Lewis keeps himself safe in a car and continues to make zoom video of killers who are in hotel. Within a time, police car arrives and police officers proceed to the hotel. Video recording continues. A criminal hides his gun under the table. Lewis observes the second police car and other police officer also enters there. Rick is much afraid. Suddenly sound of firing is heard which is started. A police officer receives a gunshot. Criminals run away sitting in a car, but police officers follow them in a flow. Lewis and Rick's car is after police car. It is delicate situation. Rick decides to accept a video for Lewis. Cars are driven at incredible velocities in an irresponsible way. Criminals smashed the police car, swapping it over. Eventually, the criminal's car is overturned. Now there is complete silence. It seems that the criminals were murdered in the car. Lewis goes ahead to check, and then when he discovers them dead, he asks Rick to movie it. Coming from car in fear, as Rick starts to make video, thinking them dead. It is known that a murderer is alive who starts shooting Rick with his gun, triggering Rich to fall to the ground. While Lewis, staying aside, continues to make video. Police car comes and fires on criminal, putting him dead. Now, Lewis comes to Rick, who has little life. Dying, Rick says, "You had seen him." On it, Lewis says, "I cannot put things at risk for the success of my company. And I cannot rely on such a person who is untrustworthy." Afterward, Rick loses his life. Lewis leaves taking his camera. He gives this footage to KWLA director. Detectives also arrive in the office, taking it as a major case and speaking about the LAPD, as well as requesting that this footage not be shown on the screen. Because it is criminal case. After it, director is got angry, saying it is the property of KWLA. But detective also tells, "I took officer to hospital myself, he was nearly to die, 3 were dead while 4 were injured, and this recording is evidence." And she asks footage. This is news footage which we got from independent contractor paying him. If you have issues, meet the footage maker. Editor informs director, police found 50-pound hidden cocaine in Granada's hills. It was not attack on house, but a drug robbery. Director says, it is urban crime story and Lewis has inspired us. Afterward, detectives call Lewis for interrogation. Lewis comes there voluntarily. He tells, "I had called to 911, informing about China Express." He fabricates a story, "I recognized those 2 men and chased them with my employee." When it is said to him, "As you said before, you claimed that you did not see them." On it, Lewis again says, "Seeing them I recognized. The gun was inside their shirt, so had to call 911. Detective says, "You are telling a lie and you cannot befool me." Lewis wished, "Would that my cameraman had been here and tell what happened." Detective says, "You had left your dying partner and also made video of him." Lewis again tells a lie. He says, "Ambulance came there having the professional trained persons, so I left him there." Hearing it, detective leaves because she cannot prove the lies of Lewis. Lewis is released and he hires employees for his video production news. And also instructs them, as he says, "I will not say you to do what I do not." Taking instruction, all go to their work. In the end, it is known that Lewis hires a team to expand his business.